Folks, welcome back to another episode of The Fallen Badge. Today's episode's going to be the murder of Corporal Eugene Cole, Somerset County Sheriff's Office, Maine. Corporal Cole had been with the Somerset Sheriff's Office about 13 years. He was 61 years of age. He was an Army veteran, been married to the same woman for 41 years, had 4 kids. One of his sons, was a deputy with the Somerset Sheriff's Department. Now, it's a pretty big county, Somerset is. I guess you would say it's in the northwest part of Maine. Now, we're going to be focusing on a town of Norridge Walk. Now, it's a little town. It's down there, very southern part of the county. Corporal Cole, when he was murdered, there hadn't been a shooting death of a police officer in almost 30 years in the state of Maine. And we're going to start our story out at a house in Norridge Walk. It's a big old wood frame house, and it's at 16 Mercer Street. Now, that address is 16 Mercer Street. That's just about a good stone's throw away from the Kennebec River. Now, there's some of the particulars about the killing that I'm not going to be able to fill in the blank on. But I believe I got most of the story. It's not going to be a very pleasant story, but it's definitely a story worth telling. Now, the following account of what happened, I got it from the Maine Supreme Court when they were reviewing an appeal made by the defendant after his trial and conviction. It's April 21st, 2018. Now, Corporal Cole and another deputy, they stopped the defendant. He's in his car. But now he's not driving, his girlfriend's driving. Well, of course, small town, and even though the county's kind of big, it don't take long for deputies to know who's who. So they go and pull him over. Girlfriend's got a suspended license, which they knew she did. So they're going to lock her up. Now, they couldn't let the defendant drive the car because he appeared to be under the influence of drugs, which I'm sure he was, since he was a drug addict. And also the vehicle's insurance had elapsed. So now the defendant, he calls and a friend of his comes and picks him up. So now the car gets towed from the scene. Now when they inventory in the car, because that's what you do when you're towing somebody's car, you inventory it so you know what's in it. So that way the owner can't come back and say something got stolen. Well, during their inventory, they find drugs in the car, the illegal kind. So Corporal Cole's supervisor tells him and that other deputy, well, if you see that fella, y'all lock him up for them drugs that's in the car. It's the night of April 24th, 2018. Now, the defendant was using drugs at a friend's house. I know that comes as a shock to no one. So then he asked another one of his friends. They'll drive him over to a house in Norwich Walk. He tells a friend he used to live over there for a while when he was growing up. And he wants to borrow one of the homeowner's cars because he's got a whole passel of guns that he wants to hide. Because he was going to have to be in court in Massachusetts the following day. And he wanted to make sure that his weapons didn't get stolen. Now, it's not going to shock you either when I tell you that the court case he's got in Massachusetts is for a gun and drugs. Yeah, in that case, the prosecutor asked the judge for a $10,000 bond, and the judge, I guess the public defender sweet talked the judge because he knocked it down to $5,000. So our boy got to walk. So now his friend says, okay, I'll drive you to Norwich Walk. And now by this time, it's about 1:15, 1:30 in the morning on April 25th, 2018. So when they pull up and park at the house, the defendant and a friend of his in the car, they see Corporal Cole's police truck drive by real slow. As I'm sure Corporal Cole, if it wasn't a coincidence, it might have been that he knew this old boy had lived at that house before and that he might go back. Either way, they see the truck and it just keeps on going real slow. So now the defendant, he's got a duffel bag in his friend's car. It's got all his guns in it. So he takes the duffel bag out and he puts it next to the car he's planning on borrowing from the lady that lives there. Well, the friend drives off, and the defendant, he climbs the steps of the house and tries to enter, but the door's locked. Now, the Supreme Court says it was the front door. Now, I've looked at the front door, pictures of it and the side door. What I would call the side door, but now that door that I would call the side door, it's over there in the little parking area where the homeowner parks her cars. That's where the driveway is, so I'm wondering if that's not what they're referring to. That's what I think. Either way, So this old fella, he can't get in the house. He's got a whole bag of guns sitting out there by a car. And what do you know? Corporal Cole comes up behind the defendant and asks him what his name is, and he tells him. Evidently, Corporal Cole, he drove down the street and parked his truck, snuck up on the defendant. Well, Corporal Cole, he tells the defendant he's under arrest, and he grabs the defendant's wrist so he can handcuff him. Well, now the defendant, he pulls away, and he draws a 9mm pistol from his waistband. It's a Ruger. Now, Corporal Cole, he steps back, but when he does, he slips and he falls on a little grassy slope. Now, there is a little grassy slope there on what I would think would be the front door, which sits right there on the street. It's not but 8 feet, 10 feet off from the road. But now there's also a hill over there where that side door is. That's where I'm thinking that he tripped and fell. Either way, he falls down. Well, he falls down, and the defendant just steps right up there and pops off a round at pretty well point-blank range into the right side of the neck of Corporal Cole. So now, after the defendant shot Corporal Cole, he gets his duffel bag full of guns, and he gets in Corporal Cole's police truck. Now, I'm not sure exactly where the truck was parked, but it was close enough that this fella found it. So now he drives down the road just a little bit to a store, and it's called the Cumberland Farms store. And it's just a 2 or 3 minute drive there from the house. And he goes in, and he stole a bottle of water, some cigarettes, and a lighter. And he walks back out, he gets in the truck. Now, I'm not certain, but it looks like if he's going down on Martin Stream Road, he would have taken a left out of the parking lot there at Cumberland Farms, and he would have gotten on Mechanic Street there, kind of heading back west-southwest. And that Mechanic Street now, it runs into Martin Stream Road. So if that's the way he went, then he would have went back south on Martin Stream Road out of town. Now, after he leaves the store and he's driving along, he calls a friend, tells him that he shot Corporal Cole. And he tells that friend, he says, you need to meet me on Martin Stream Road. Pick me up. And the defendant, he gets down there on Martin Stream Road, and he hides the police truck behind the house. Now, that friend of his, he's driving to go pick up the defendant. He sees a deputy sheriff at the Cumberland Farm store taking a report on the shoplifting. And he tells that deputy, he says, look, the guy that shot Corporal Cole, he's down here on Martin Stream Road. Now, I'm assuming he went on and told him that he was heading down there to pick him up. The records don't indicate what that deputy did. Anyways, the friend went down there and met him, and the defendant wanted to use his car. The friend said, "Nope, you can't." And the defendant asked to borrow his cell phone, said he was going to go into the woods and use the phone to make a confession and kill himself, which I think it sounds like a dandy plan. Well, the friend got the defendant in the car and let the defendant use his phone, and he dropped him off about a half a mile further down the road, right there near some railroad tracks. Now, at some point, somebody figures out that Corporal Cole is missing. And I still don't know what that deputy did when Mr. Dope Fiend's buddy stopped and told him about the shooting. Any event. So they call in the state police. Of course, state police now, they're going to come in strong. Now they're trying to locate Corporal Cole, and they're trying to find the defendant. Now they talked to the defendant's friend that they gave him a ride, and he kind of shows them the area where he picked up his buddy, and then they located Corporal Cole's police truck. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that the friend that came to give him a ride off of Martin Stream is not the same friend that took the defendant over to 16 Mercer, because if that was the case, the one that was at 16 Mercer, well, he saw Corporal Cole in his truck, and he left the defendant there at that house, so he would have known to told him that. So this is two separate friends. Amazing how many friends you can have as a druggie. So now they got this dual search going on. Find Corporal Cole and find the defendant. Now they decide to set up a command post at the fire station there in Norwich Walk. The fire station is right across the street from 16 Mercer, where Corporal Cole's body's laying. Now, April 25th, there in the morning time, the owner of the house, she comes outside and she sees Corporal Cole's body laying in the yard. Now, she told the news media that his body was laying behind the house, so I take that to mean that side door that I kept talking about where the cars are parked. That's an area you wouldn't see from the roadway. Now, they worked that crime scene. They took Corporal Cole to the state medical examiner's office. Now, according to the autopsy, the cause of death was a close contact gunshot wound to the right side of the neck, just below the ear, which perforated the cervical spinal cord. So now it's just a straight manhunt. Now, they brought in law enforcement officers, not only from all over the state of Maine, but from 2 neighboring states. Also sent people. So you had 3 states on this manhunt, because our boys out there in some nasty woods. Now, on April 28th, one of the teams, it's a multi-agency team, which is the best way when you've got this many agencies and you're not going to have the same radios or radio system. You want to take different officers from different units and put them together. That way you're assured you'll have communications with at least somebody in the group. Well, they came upon the defendant at a little cabin, and I'll have to give them kudos, I guess, for being so disciplined, because I certainly would have expected a man that shot and killed a police officer who's caught out in the deep woods. I would expect the news report to say after a short firefight, suspect was shot and killed resisting arrest. But they took him alive. Now, the news media had a field day. That picture, it shows the defendant. He's got his head raised up laying on the ground, and you can see somebody's got a handful of his hair holding his head up. Now, I love the response that the colonel, or whatever his rank was the state police, had to say about that. He said that the defendant refused to raise his head up so he could get a picture, because they were going to take that picture and text it back to the command post so they could check and make sure it was the right person. I do love that answer. Anyways, I'm not going to go through all the rigmarole about his accusations that he was mistreated by the police during his arrest. He just should be thankful he was alive. Anyways, they clean him up. He has a trial. Jury finds him guilty of murder, and he's given a life sentence. Now, a life sentence in the state of Maine, unlike in, say, Tennessee, where life does not mean life. Well, if you get life in Maine, that means that's no parole. Corporal Eugene Philip Cole. End of watch, April 25th, 2018.